Hey everybody, this is Mike Mosteller. I'm the Democratic nominee for House of Delegates in the 21st District in Hurricane and Culloden, West Virginia. So I just left the PR campaign that was for the Valley Link transmission line that nobody wants. And it was an interesting time. Vince George was there. We had a great time hanging out. Kim Hunley was there, Marissa Jackson, Nolan Rose. So we had a pretty good turnout. So one sure way to get me to do something is to tell me that I can't do it. So to preface this story of what happened just now, apparently they've been having these meetings all over the state where they got these nice, well-branded Valley Link shirts, and they've got all these poster boards up, and they got their PR up and their propaganda. And excuse me, somebody who was at last night's meeting, which was somewhere up north, maybe Roane County, I could be a little off, same group of people, said that they followed one older lady around. And this is an older lady who had whipped up some opposition to the Valley Link. They told this older lady that she was on a list, and that's all they would tell her. So as soon as I found this out, excuse me, as soon as I found this out, I wanted to know who it was. They pointed him out, or first they gave me a description, and so I went in there looking, and it was someone who was not wearing the branded shirt. You know, these guys were just trying to blend in. So I walk up to a guy, and I said, "Hey, let me introduce myself." And by the way, this is when they told Vince he couldn't hand out any of his campaign cards inside. So I grabbed a handful of my campaign cards, walked up to this guy, and I said, "Hey, what's your name?" He said, "Chuck." I said, "What's your last name?" And he just said, "Chuck." I said, "Oh, okay, Chuck. I said, "Why no last name?" And he kind of hemmed and hawed for a little bit. And I said, "Who you work for?" He said, "I work for AEP." I said, "But you're scared to give your last name." "Okay." I said, What's this list I hear about?" He wouldn't say anything. And I was still curious, so I'm like, "Well, why won't you give out your last name? I mean, you work for AEP. You're holding this PR event. It's a public utility. I mean, everybody else has their last name out." Nah, he wouldn't give it. And I said, "So it wasn't you that followed around and tried to intimidate some older lady last night?" "Nope." "Okay." I said, "Here, take my card." He said, "You can't, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." I said, "I don't care." And so I gave him my card. He said, "I'm just going to throw it away." I said, "I still don't care." And I said, "By the way, you're not going to sit here and intimidate anyone here." So I go back out. Right group, wrong guy. So I came out, and the lady pointed out the gentleman who had been following around the lady from the night before. He was standing there talking to Chuck, and they were all just in nondescript black t-shirts, trying to just blend in. They didn't have the Valley Link logo on it. So I was like, "Oh, so it's this guy." Okay. So I walk up, and I said, "Well, hey there, Chuck. I said, "Who we got here?" And I went around the circle of four guys, and I introduced myself and asked them their names. They would only give first names. And then they asked, "Well, why do you want our last names?" And I said, "Hey, you're working for AEP. You're working for the public utility. You're asking for this huge project. Why are you afraid to give your last names?" Then I asked the right guy. I said, "Why were you following around that lady last night?" Oh, this guy cowered. He was terrified. And he denied it. And then I said, "If I find out about there being a list, and you all making a list and telling people that they're going to be on it, there's going to be hell to pay." I said, you're not going to go around here intimidating people." I said, "I sure as hell ain't afraid of you." So, yeah, if I find out about this list, at least I know Chuck. I'll reach out to AEP until I find him. And then there's going to be hell to pay. Don't go around intimidating old ladies. You're just a coward. So, appreciate your time. Y'all have a good evening.